back to her. Tim, welcome, man. That 30-second countdown reminds me of having to hold a plank at the gym for 30 seconds and being the longest 30 seconds of my day.
As much physical activity as you do, something tells me a 30-second plank shouldn't hurt you that much. If you can run 40 miles.
No, more of it's time just goes so much slower when you're watching it. Like that like when we're just watching for that 30-second countdown, like that is painful. Like, but it's crazy. On the other hand, I don't know if how it is in your guys' operation, but for us, the day just flies by because in property management or landlording, like it just never ends. There's always something to do, and there's always I don't know. It's just the day flies. I hear more people complain they don't have enough time than, oh my gosh, it's only 10 a.m. You barely really hear that in my office.
Yeah, no, 100%, especially when you get into managing multiple properties and all that stuff. It gets. I don't think there's ever a dull day. If you like the experience of having the same thing happen over and over and being predictable, do not get into property management. That is that's.
Well, speaking of like unpredictable, I mean, the weather-wise, like I just want to kind of hear what you've been up against because I was out there today. It's 18 degrees. It's like a heat wave, but we're still, I think the biggest problem we've had the last couple of days with having so many, whatever call it, below freezing, below 10-degree type days that I feel our systems are just kind of wearing down. I posted something about this on Instagram the other day of like, all right, day 4, 5, 6, your furnace been cranking, killing it. Your walls are just are taking a beating of insulation wise. Like how's the holdup of your guys' portfolio?
So pipe wise, we're doing okay. The issue that we're having right now, and I'm going to expand the conversation a little bit on you, but the issue we're having, we did have a couple breakdowns of furnaces and boilers and water heaters where they need parts. And now we're running into the whole thing of apparently America is not keeping stock of all the parts that we need right now. So we have that. I remember that this was happening a lot during COVID or right after COVID to us of, hey, something that our guys normally have on their truck or normally can get within a couple hours and drive to the parts store and get for HVAC. The HVAC stores are scrambling to try to find the few that are left in the country as shipments are being delayed. So that's been the fun we've been in, having a couple of odd parts go out that we can't get right away. I mean, obviously I'm talking a couple day delay versus, it's not the end of the world, but when you're used to servicing something and having something fixed within, a 4-hour period, a 2-day period of no hot water is the tenants are not happy.
I remember 2 specific times during COVID where we had to basically buy the new $900 fridge versus wait for the $110 part just because it was a 3-week difference. And we had to sell the owner on, we'll take your unit, we'll get it fixed, we'll resell it. So I remember, but it's like, you had no other option. Like you can't make them go without a fridge.
Yeah. And another one, I think that we see a lot that comes up in this situations is like, I get asked all the time, what do I think of home warranties? And, it's fine when your furnace goes out and it's you and you can go get yourself a hotel or do whatever. And you don't really think much of it for your personal residence. But home warranties on a rental property in a situation like this, if you were to have a home warranty and your furnace goes out, you can't wait a week with a tenant for the home warranty company to come out and things like that. So just actions that have to be taken quicker when you're dealing with a rental property than maybe your own property.
Yeah, there's a couple problems I have with home warranties, and it ends up being, first off, I have this. I feel like anytime you go to the Best Buy, they try selling you some sort of extended warranty, or like it's $9. Like, why would I get anything on this? Like, but I think the bigger thing I have is insurance companies are smart. They know how to. They totally know how to make money, like hand over fist money. and you barely win as the person paying for insurance, and it's more for peace of mind. But two, to your exact point, if you those home warranties that they have out there, home shields, all those, like, they are made for owner occupied person that can deal with it. Because I don't know about you guys, but if you're going a day without hot water, or you could, I don't care how much you communicate with that tenant is going to be pissed, and they're going to threaten to call the city. And then when they call the city and the city comes out, and 2 weeks later, and they write violations on you, like that costs far more than what you'd have to do to just repair it without the home warranty.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's tough. It's different, you can convince yourself it's worth the money, and for a personal property, but you're also probably going to go to a hotel, or probably going to go somewhere because you have that ability to leave the house and go there. A lot of these tenants don't have anywhere to go, and a lot of them aren't going to be, they're not going to wait for it. They don't care that you're saving $200. So they need it now, and that's the issue we're having right now with some of these parts. Obviously, for the heat, we have, like we talked about last week, we have portable heaters and stuff that we have handed out to the one property that we have a boiler issue at, that we're waiting on the part. But the hot water issue, which is the other property that we're having issues at, that was a 2-day process to get that part. Luckily, it's being put in today, but we had to put them up in a hotel, because they were deeming it as not livable. So, an interesting ride.
I'm not sure how you handle it, but usually renters insurance would cover something like that if they do have to put up an hotel. I know sometimes you want to do it, it's $150, but you should always, that is always an option for anyone listening, that a lot of times the food goes bad in the fridge, all that stuff is covered by it. One more thing on home warranties I'll say is, I think there's a large misconception, because we get people call us up for property management service, and we don't usually work with home warranties. So we usually kind of have a similar conversation we're having right now. But a lot of people are like, well, what if this breaks or this breaks? It's like, really, it really doesn't cover all your drips and leaks and all that type of stuff. And that is definitely a misconception of what it actually covers. And then I talked to another guy it's probably about a month or so ago, and he's like, man, I don't know if I get where this home warranty I've had for like 10 years. I'm like, well, how many times have you filed? He's like, none. I'm like, man, like 10 years times $500, you could have bought yourself a brand new furnace and appliances at this point. Like, it's like, and then you're almost at that sunken cost fallacy at that point of like, I got to keep going till something breaks so I get my money.
No, I generally speaking, I mean, if you were to buy those warranties on everything you could buy them on, you would lose money. Like you said, if you keep buying it at $500 a year, 5 years later, and your furnace is paid for, you could have had a brand new furnace. I think this is something else to talk about though too, is like, as a landlord, especially newer landlords, you don't realize that all these things have lifespans. You're gonna replace, if you own the property long enough, you're gonna replace a furnace, you're gonna replace a water heater, you're gonna replace a roof, et cetera. Just depend. It's a matter of time. It's not if you will, it's when you will. And so I think it's super important. Instead of that $500 to the home repair, you could be banking it, putting it in a bank account or in a stock market, or something where you're getting interest on it, and just building that reserve up so you never have an issue. And self-insure, I think, is a way better option.
Yeah, and that home warranty is not covering your roof. It's not covering that leak foundation you have to patch for $1,200. It's not covering any of those things either. And there's always a deductible on it too. So you're not getting 100% of it replaced. You're usually paying a 75. It might have gone up deductible.
And the few times I've used it, or had clients that have talked me into using it because it wasn't an emergency or there wasn't a tenant there, their repair people suck. Like we had one. It was for a furnace. They came out. It took them 4 times to come out, and they kept trying to fix it and fix it and fix it, and it kept breaking. And finally, the guy's just like, you know what, just replace it. Like, and the warranty's like, well, we're not going to replace it because we think it's fixable. I'm like, it's been 3 weeks. You haven't fixed it yet. I think we're running out of time here. So, yeah, it's been not a great experience always.
Part of our GC experience here is right solutions the first time, and home warranties definitely go against that, because they do everything they can not to do the right thing a lot. So we're really picking on home warranties here today. But anything else on cold weather? Do you have some pipers? Do you have any crazy weather?
We weren't too bad. Honestly, it was the one. We did have one other small issue that we had to take care of. But it wasn't a pipe burst. It was we went to all of our vacant properties and drip and set the pipes to or the sinks to dripping to help avoid. And when we came in to check on it the next day, we realized that there was a leak in one of the pipes of the vacant properties that we didn't catch right away. So had a little bit of a mop cleanup situation there, but nothing too bad. We actually knock on wood haven't had too bad of a cold spell when it comes to the pipes, and a lot of that's because of what we talked about last week and making sure everything has heat and making sure everything's protected. How about you guys?
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky. We had one just I almost feel it's like just bad luck or timing or inevitable is going to happen. But we had a garden unit on the northwest side that heat went out and got the furnace guy out. Tenant reported, got the furnace guy out there or got the HVAC guy out there, man, within like 2 hours, and he needed a part. And he left and he went and got the part. And the part was actually in stock. So like 2 hours later, 3 hours later, he came back. And by then, a pipe already cracked. So it's probably already. I don't know exactly how long the heat wasn't working, or maybe it was in a basement. It was in the laundry area where maybe there wasn't as good airflow. So it was already cold, and then you just stop heat altogether. That just kind of put it over the edge. But it wasn't horrible because the pipe break was in an unfinished section. So, but that was probably more of the random. But my team, I have to tell you this, my team has been. I'm sure yours as well too. It's just been amazing in the streets, and we we still have like 50 space heaters upstairs that we didn't have to use all of them, but they're shipping them around over the weekend, and they just did a killer job online between them. And obviously we use Latcho, which is that 24-hour work order. Those two with all our vendors, they just kind of killed it the last week. So I'm super proud of what our team did.
It's long hours, and that's what I tell people about property management. And when I say this, people it's a little confusing, but it makes sense after I explain it. It is far easier to manage 300 properties than it is to manage one or two. If you're a small landlord, you just don't have the team to do that, right? Like you might not have to spend 40 hours a week on your property, but things like this pop up where, and I'm sure your team was in a similar, especially with the snow on Sunday and everything like that, where your team was in a similar situation where you had someone probably working for 72 hours straight, during the weekend and checking on things, getting heat over, et cetera. Um, I feel like that's where having a big team and having, a property management company comes in clutch versus just having one property, because we're able to not necessarily have one person that's working 70 hours, but having a multitude of people that can check all the properties and move heaters around and all that stuff. So I think that's a huge advantage. Like you said, when you're talking about managing multiple properties versus just one.
It's funny you say that because between I think we call it Friday and like last night, I probably between Instagram and just my cell phone, people that have my number, probably got about 20 different self-managing landlords that it's like, oh no, my heat went out. What do I do? It's like, man, like probably should have thought about this last week. This storm was not like, or the tenant said this, what should I do? And I'm happy to always help people, but you end up going into this, like they're all in some sort of panic because they didn't know what to do next. And a lot of it was because, even like out here in the suburbs, you think, oh, I got this nicely insulated, it's only 20 years old type house, but you still have, this weather just beats the hell out of you, especially if you get out here in the suburbs. The bigger problem we have is you get some wind that goes up against the side of a house for a certain side for 2 days. And also, man, it doesn't matter how much insulation you got. You could be R75, like, and it's gonna still freeze your pipe. So, yes, a lot of people were prepared. And then I had a bunch of people, those same people are panicking me, saying that the tenants are telling them they're going to call 311 and all that stuff. I'm like, no, just tell them this, send them a gift card. Just take care of them. And communication's key right now. Don't duck out. I actually gave somebody a couple space heaters that I know that doesn't live too far for me to message down to their property just to solve it. But yeah, no, a lot of people were not prepared self-managing just because they assumed that they'd be good because of this or that.
I remember starting off, and I think, I don't know if you've ever been here, but I was a one-man shop when I started off, like most companies are. And the emergency calls never happened between 9 and 5. Like tell me how a pipe does not burst at 10:30 in the morning ever. It is always, 8 o'clock at night, midnight, whatever. So it's just, yeah, when you're trying to manage it yourself, and you don't have someone that's on call, and taking it hits super hard.
And yeah, on the weekends, you're usually away or at someone's house or just thinking you're in relaxed mode. Like, yeah, so like that jolts you into like, oh no, what do I do now? Momentum. So um, I one of the craziest things I ever saw, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about stories here today, was it was the 8300 block of South Saginaw. We managed the property next door, and there's a two flat, and it was abandoned for a while. So it was probably back 2012, 13. And the property had coming out, think about this like a two flat brick building where you kind of got the entrance to the front. It's got kind of an overhang right there, the kind of a front porch that had water coming all the way down like through the stairs, almost like in like the cartoons, like Iceman, like where he like throws his path out
Hmm.
there and he like slide, like that's how it looked like going all the way down the sidewalk. It was the coolest thing ever. I remember taking pictures and sitting up on top of there. But yeah, that was probably the craziest thing I ever saw with it. But because it was a leak that just went on for days that no one knew it was a vacant property. And back then, 2012, there's tons of vacant properties, especially in that neighborhood. So nobody really cared about it. So, but that was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
No, for sure. You okay if I transition to the next topic? You got anything else on there?
No, no, no. I'm good. I'm good. I'm hoping I know we're going to experience pipe. As things start to thaw, there'll be different problems. But we can talk about that
Yeah,
next week.
I will throw that out there. That is the one thing to remember is that unfortunately, just because the cold, it's and granted 18 degrees, it's if you're anyone that buys in Illinois but lives in Florida or San Diego, 18 degrees doesn't sound warm to you, but compared to -30, it's great. Uh, the real damage is often done as it warms up, not necessarily as it freezes. So we probably have another week of hoping and praying that we don't have any more emergencies, and before we can say that we're safe fully.
How much snow
Um,
did you guys get? You're in the South Burbs. You have a lot of stuff. How much snow did you guys get over the weekend? Because we barely got anything. We got lucky with that at least.
so the South Burb, not that much. We got like 3 inch. I mean, relatively, we got about 3 inches. Pilsen, Bridgeport, south side of Chicago got 7.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it was drastically different between the city and the burb. So the
And we have
lake
stuff down
effect.
there, but we didn't have to deal with it for about half our portfolio, which was nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the south suburbs weren't too bad, but the actual city got. I guess that's the lake effect they talk about. I guess it came down a little bit harder.
It's coming
So
again tomorrow, I think, or tonight or tomorrow. I heard it's got another band of lake
it's
effect.
supposed to snow tonight. We'll see. We'll see. The weathermen are the only job you can be wrong 60% of the time and still be still be amazing and still get promoted. So I'm hoping it flies over us, but we'll see.
They said it all depends on which way the wind blows, of how bad or not bad we'll
Yeah,
get it.
literally, literally, literally. It's a cloud that can go away. That can go away. But talking about that, doing the right thing. Earlier in that GC Realty, that's sort of your guys' motto, and get it done right. Um, there's a new law that we haven't talked about yet that started January 1st. The Rights for a Safer Home law, which to me is really just unfortunately Illinois saying, "Hey, do the right thing." In my opinion, at least, that there's too many landlords that are not making exceptions when things are out of control for their tenants. And so I wanted to go into it a little bit, just make sure everyone's aware of the new requirements and sort of what the rules are and what the new law is. So I'll give the overview really quick, and then I'll let you jump in, Mark, and tell me your thoughts. But it's the Rights of Safer Homes Act, and what it does. Couple of rules for it. One is the summary that they provide. You have to make as page 1 through 4 of your lease and have your tenant sign starting January 1st. And what the summary of rights, it's 4 pages, but the quick summary of it is if your tenants are a victim of domestic or sexual violence, There's a couple of things you have to allow them to do. One is if they can show proof that they are a victim and they request that their locks be changed because they're afraid of immediate danger or any kind of danger, you have to change the locks within 48 hours for them. And then the other part of it is if they don't feel safe living there because of the issues and because of the ongoing issues, all that stuff, you have to let them out of their lease without penalty. So you can't charge a break fee. You can't force them to get a sublessee or anything like that. So sort of that's the overview. What's your thoughts on it?
There was some form of this in place prior. I don't know exactly what it was that you had to consider it. I don't know exactly how it was written. So, we've had this a couple times, and I think I understand. I totally understand. It is a do right thing moment, and I think we've always kind of done the right thing in this scenario. The one thing where this is always tricky is when someone needs to leave the home and it leaves somebody behind. It's a lot more clean. As crappy as it is, if someone just moves out and you have a vacant property, that's a lot cleaner than half of your payroll that can afford the rent is still left in there. So that's probably the trickier part of it. But there are a lot of things around notices and burden of proof and all that stuff that there has to be some sort of they have to give you specific notice within, I think, 2 days of leaving. They can actually leave and give you notice within 2 days of after they've left.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that stands out to me. But if they're sticking around, I think if you have to change the locks for them, there is a burden of proof. They have to show some sort of restraining order or something that is documented that is that would force you to have to change locks.
Yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised that Illinois is requiring it. I'm surprised they didn't put something in the law like, yeah, HIPAA laws and you don't have to show, but according to the Illinois site, it's any kind of medical documentation of the abuse, any kind of police report, or any kind of a letter from a domestic violence program or anything saying that you've been a part of it. Anything like that will constitute as proof. So medical court or police evidence all count. I'm kind of surprised that they're letting us request that and force them to give that to us, but at least we know we're not going to get a bunch of tenants that want to break a lease just using that as an excuse because they have to have some kind of real proof coming from like a professional.
Yeah, it's we've had to use it a few times. Something along the lines before this disclosure had to come out. And the one thing I'll throw out there too, and I was going to talk about this here in a second, was as part of your lease, you have to have this 4-page disclosure. But one thing we start off the year and we fixed it since is you have to have them sign that as well too. They have to sign off on the actual disclosure. We didn't do that right out the gate. So make sure if you're adding this, I know I've talked about in a lot of my videos, if you're adding it, I never brought up the fact you have to sign it, but I'll put that out there now that you do have to have that signed. And I'm a little confused on some of the order. Now I'm not confused anymore, but I was a little confused that the order had to be so specific, which we actually fixed as well too with the rate on disclosure, all that stuff here in 2026.
Yeah. And I was prepping for this and then putting together something on our site for it. They specifically, this is how they know how we're going to try to question and get around things. If you have more than 2 tenants, there's only 2 lines, 2 initials to sign. It specifically says in the law that have the other tenants just sign anywhere around the initial points. So anywhere on the piece of paper, they just have to do it, and they have to initial each of the 4 pages. But I mean, it's an interesting approach. I can't think of the book that was written about it, but I read it maybe 10 years ago. They had the opposite law, right, in Wisconsin for a while, where if anyone in the home was part of domestic violence, then the landlord could end the lease. And that caused a whole bunch of issues where, if you were getting beat, you didn't want to report it because if you reported it, you were getting kicked out of the home. So I guess, in that sense, I'll say it's good to see that Illinois is taking the high road and doing it the right way. I'll also throw this out there. If you have a tenant that, just going along the right thing and things like that, if you have a tenant that that is coming to you and saying, hey, I lost my job. can you let me out of the lease early? Can you, like with a legit reason of why they're trying to get out of the lease. We're on the side that it's often a lot better just to let them out or figure something out with them, work on it, figure out some kind of out of payment or something that they can do it. Because if they're going to be in a situation where they can't pay, I'd rather have them leave than have them not pay for 8 months when I try to evict them. So I think some landlords that I've talked to are too prideful or too, no, they have a lease, they have to live there and blah blah blah. I'm not going to let them out. But in reality, if the tenant's telling you they have no way of paying and they're willing to leave on their own, you're saving a lot of money letting them leave versus trying to say, no, you have a contract with me. I need you to pay.
I agree. I'm one that does not like confrontation, and this actually works to my benefit in this scenario. But in that scenario, when someone comes to you, it could be this domestic violence thing. It could be they have they don't even like their neighbor. Sometimes, like it's like I hate my neighbor, and I've seen it escalate. It's not usually the first time. Usually, we'll try to talk through it. But if you just have ongoing disputes, or you have these issues, work with them to get them out, create a win-win. Often, in the suburbs, you have the benefit of at least having the security deposit in place. So maybe you can get the place on the market right away and maybe get someone moving in right on the heels, hold their security deposit. And hopefully you can work. A lot of times in that scenario, we try to work out a deal with the tenant where it's like, hey, if you could have the place as perfect as you did when you moved in, I'll let you out of the lease. Or whatever it might be. So there's definitely, I'm so with you and that's just, I think some of that is just being a decent human being, and kind of working with people, human to human type stuff. And
Yep.
I think that is important to me. Too many landlords get into the. I talk to too many over time. That's like, no, man, you got a lease. Like you have to figure out. And the last thing I want in Chicago is them to go sublease it, which you have to allow to happen. And we didn't have any subleases for so many years. We have a couple now in the system, but we never had them because we just always, hey, don't worry about it. You don't want to sublease anyways, because then you're still on the hook. So that makes sense to them. It creates a win for them if we let them out and we let someone new in. That's 100% on the hook.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, it's if they sublease to someone. And here's a question I saw on a Facebook group, and it's sort of a similar situation or it relates a little bit. But someone put um, that what was it that their tenant they were subleasing, or no, their tenant wasn't paying rent. Should they start the eviction process, but the lease ends in 2 months, or should they just wait till the lease ends and the tenant will leave?
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like magically the tenants, like if you have a holdover tenant or a tenant that needs to be evicted, they're not magically leaving because of a date on their lease. And some people think that like oh no, they're gonna, when the lease hits, they're gonna go. And it is an interesting thing to see that some people believe that, or some people think it might be it's going to be easier to get them out. It's not,
Well,
the
to that same sentiment, you have a lot of landlords that leave their lease on month to month. They're like, let's just do month to month in case I don't like this tenant, or in case they don't pay it. It's like, man, like you have the same pain points in trying to get this tenant out if you're at a month lease or a 10-year lease. and that
and
always
I don't know how much you guys are dealing with this right now, but we are in probably one of the slowest leasing months that we've had in quite a while, because there's not a whole lot of people that are willing to go and look for an apartment in negative 30-degree weather and a foot of snow or half foot of snow. So if you're on month to month and your tenant leaves in the end of December, it is way harder to lease than if they were to leave at the end of a lease that you made in April or May.
to the point that you're originally saying about if someone needs out of their lease, sometimes those are the things that actually play to your favor. That's one example of like, hey, listen, the tenant's lease was going to end in November, but they're having trouble paying this and that, but they're willing to leave now in October or September. Like that's totally in your best interest. Like just do that. You'll get more rent right now than if you're going to redo it or if you're going to release it out. Or I'll see people like, yeah, market rate's like 2,000. They're paying 1,600, but I don't know. Like I waived 2 late fees for them, and they should live out their lease. It's like, no, man, just let them move out and get your 2,000. Like, so it ends up being,
especially when you're only delaying it 3 months. Like it's not like they're going to stay for 3 more years, or like I understand the concept of not raising the market rent to keep a tenant renewed for another year, but to save a month and put yourself in a worse situation, it makes no sense.
Well, we just had a guy. We had a situation. I forgot what the exact circumstance where they wanted to move out. It was actually a townhome in Oak Park, and they wanted to move. They bought a house, I think, so it wasn't even that, and their lease was ending in like I think it was ending this month, but they could close in November. And I said, dude, let them out. He wanted to go put 30-40 grand into this place, update this place over the holiday break and all that stuff, and we're going on the market at the end of this month for I mean, it's like $400-500 more than the previous people were paying, and he doesn't have to start it right now. So it's like he took the slowest months of the years to take care of that. So
Yeah, no, 100%.
what else you got on your list?
Let's see here. What did we talk about? We hit the new laws. I mean, that's the major new law. There's a few laws that we're hoping don't get passed, but just to throw it out there for people to hear about, while we're talking about new laws, is the state of Illinois, and this may be just something for if you're, if you have resources to contact them or to say anything, if go past someone, whatever. But the state of Illinois wants to get rid of a lot of junk fees, and they're trying to take the Biden initiative that he put out to make laws that will limit some of the stuff, and that's going to include, if it gets passed the way it's written, it's going to include how much you can charge for an application fee, how much you can charge for pet rent, how much you can charge for, late fees throughout Illinois, et cetera. So that's something just to keep an eye on. Nothing has passed yet. Hopefully it doesn't, but something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, something I learned this week too, I'll throw it out there, is and we usually don't collect security deposits in Evanston, but Evanston security deposit return is 21 days. I kind of asked everyone since I found out, like, do you know this? And like, no, I thought I just followed Chicago. I'm like, no, so you have 21 days only if you're in Evanston. And if I really took the time and looked through, if anyone's got properties in Evanston, I looked through their RTLO is separate than the Cook County because they have their own, or they're excluded from the Cook County one because they have their own, which they have different terms. So make sure that if you have a property in Evanston that you're looking through that.
So let's break this down for everyone, or I'll let you break it down. You have Cook County, right? And they have their own RLTO that has all these laws set out. But then you have different towns and cities, so Chicago being the big one, obviously, that has their own RLTO. That means that now the Cook County RLTO doesn't affect them.
Yep.
So it's Chicago. Who are the ones that have their own that you know of? It's Chicago, Evanston,
the rest of Cook County, Mount Prospect, Oak Park, and DeKalb.
There you go. So it's one of those things. If you're not from here, if you're watching and you want to, you're looking at investing, know that if you are in these different towns, they have different rules that are going to apply. And a lot of that's going to be the late fees, notices, things like that have to be in there. They're all going to have some different rules.
Well, it's kind of crazy. And some landlords shoot themselves in the foot with this. It's like, just take a property in Country Club Hills. You have Cook County you got to deal with. You have Country Club Hills you got to deal with. And there's a 50% chance you're gonna have Section 8. So you have so much regulation, and this break it down. You have to follow the Cook County laws, which you have risk in. You have to follow the the Country Club Hills rental license, which you have to have inspected, and that always costs you money. And then you have to have the Section 8 inspection, which always will cost you money. So a lot of landlords it really eats away your cash flow. I know we still manage a bunch of stuff down there. We're not really doing more stuff, but I know you manage a lot of stuff. But everyone just kind of eats away at that sexy cash flow you see at 15% returns when you're buying from California.
Yep. Now I got a funny scenario story that just came up. We talked about Markham before on lives a few last year. So because of right now, for those that don't know, Markham's not allowing any new rental licenses. If your tenant moves out, you're not going to be able to re-rent the property. So landlords are being forced quote properties because there's no point of holding on to them. One of my clients, we hand it off to the realtor. The realtor comes back to us and goes, "All right, got it under contract. We're ready to close. We did the village inspection, the point of sale inspection, which is another one in some of these villages. That's really fun. And the point of sale inspection said, "Hey, the water's off, so therefore you can't. We're not going to pass you because your water's off." Well, okay. Well, the village has the water off. Okay, so we went down there for the owner and said, "Hey, the water's off." They go, "No, we won't turn the water on because you don't have a valid rental license anymore since your tenant moved out."
Oh,
And that is where we're stuck at. By the way, we have not got past that, even though we're trying to we're turning on the water because you guys are requiring it for our guy to sell the property, but you won't turn on the water because it was previously rented and you think we're going to re-rent it, despite the fact that it's on your point of sale list.
man.
So this is the fun that we get to deal with in some of these villages.
I've gotten thrown into those weird loops with what's the one next to Markham? I'm drawing a blank on the name. Not Markham, next to Matson, south of 80 there. Oh, I'm trying to blank on the name.
South of Matson, or Sauk Village, or
I'm sorry, west of Matson. Oh, I'm trying to blank on the name.
No, I'm gonna go on maps. Hold on.
Next to Homewood, kind of.
Flossmoor?
Yeah, no, they're actually pretty easy to deal with. But the issue I run into there is like they only let you turn on, if you're like rehabbing the property, they only let you turn on the water for like 30 days at a time. So if you don't get the water turned on, go get past the rental license, and then they'll turn it off, or they make you come in and pay another $100. Richard Park.
Richmond Park. Okay.
Richmond Park.
So there you go.
Sorry. You run into just kind of roundabout there. So it's funny. In the office the other day, a lead came in from Markham, and Russell's like, "Yeah, should we take it?" I'm like, "Nope. Send it to Tim. Tim loves Markham. Tim loves dealing with Markham."
Unfortunately, unless there's already a tenant in place to the license, we can't even take it anymore. It's not that we don't want to; it's just there's nothing we could do besides let your home sit vacant. There's no legal way to get a new tenant in anymore until things are fixed.
You know what blew my mind the other day is I saw a 6 flat come across from a wholesaler in Harvey for like $65,000. $6,000 a door, dude. Or no, I'm sorry, it's more than that. But 10,000 a door.
11,
yeah, so that's crazy. Like prices were in 6 flats were even that low during the crash, but that's how bad Harvey is. Of like think about it, you can take a 6 flat and redo the whole thing for probably $300,000. So you have 360,000 into it, and no one wants it.
Yeah, I mean it. Here's the flip side, and the good news on that is because no one wants it, and no one wants to be the landlord down there, and public housing needs to make affordable housing in all these areas. Cook County housing, unlike CHA, where you get lower than market rent often, or market rent at most, and you're always fighting with them. Cook County housing pays absurd amounts for some of these properties. Dalton's an area where a 5-bedroom home is getting $3,000 through Cook County housing, but yet you can go and buy one. You can go buy it for $160,000. So there's some opportunities there if you're willing to put the risk up and know that. I mean, it's gambling, I guess, at that point, but you're risking that you're going to get past all the stuff. But there's money on the other side.
How is doing business in Dalton these days? Like I know they had that crazy stuff with that mayor, and that was the big news, and then that went away, and the Pope all of a sudden was from there. Like, is anything changed there doing business with?
No, it's pretty much the same. It's I think they reopened the city hall now, so you can actually go back down there for a while because of everything going on with Tiffany. Everything was closed off and secured, and you had to hand your papers to people outside that would walk it into the right people because they didn't want anyone in the public near them. But the good news is they've never been super strict about letting. They understand that they have renters. They don't look at renters as bad people. So. Yeah,
that's crazy. The whole Tiffany thing. She was on the headlines every single day for a few months. I haven't heard anything. Like, did anything ever come down? Like any grand?
I haven't seen anything. I know she was upset that she lost the next race, and I haven't really seen much on the new. The new guy has been quiet. I mean, which is a good thing, right?
Is he quiet or is he quiet
been,
comparably? Because like, dude, she was loud, man. Like it's just the audacity she had, man.
probably comparatively, but at the end of the day, that's fine. Like there's not. I mean, it's which, by the way, and this goes for the city of Chicago especially too. If you ever are bored during either at night or middle of the day for Chicago, if you go to these city council meetings or these village meetings, they are often incredibly entertaining. Like the speakers that come up and talk shit. Like I went to the Chicago one last year about the property taxes as part of CAR and Association of Realtors, and I mean, there's people there, F this and screw you, mayor, and I mean, like it's a Jerry Springer show. They should televise it. They probably can make money back for Chicago to actually pay their debt down if they televise some of this stuff, because it is pure entertainment. And the Tiffany ones where they were literally getting into fist fights would definitely qualify under that as being entertaining, but not very useful for government.
Crazy. Yeah, it was just so like it's sad because it was so horrible what was happening that it was just so attractive to watch it and see some of those headlines and the ridiculousness. It was just like watching a real life Jerry Springer show. So, all right, man. Well, we're about time, dude. Another successful week, man. Let anyone else see any final farewells for any landlords out there?
Nothing I got. I think we said this last time. I'll say it again in case you're watching this. We're going to be trying to do this every week around this time. Just pay attention to the Straight Up Chicago podcast, socials and stuff like that. That we're posting it on, and as well as Chicago Style Management and GC Realty's socials. Will post ahead of time when we're going to be doing it, and come on live, ask your questions, comment if you want us to talk about something next week. Comment below, let us know, and we'll bring it up and give you guys our opinions on it.
I think we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Straight Up. I'm sorry, and on YouTube. So hopefully we cover more ground here this time. Listeners, if you have any, or watchers, if you have any questions, or if you guys ever have just general information, reach out to Tim or myself. We're usually really easy to get. You can find me at on Instagram. I usually reply back that within a day. You Google, you find my cell phone, you can text me. I'll usually respond pretty quick. But yeah, any questions you guys ever have, we do the show to help the Chicagoland community of real estate investors, and that's why we're on here.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, guys. Tim, I will see you next week, man. Thanks.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.